Well, hello, welcome once again to Pale Blooms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us today. And if you do like the programming you see here and the artists and musicians that I visit with, please be sure and hit the like button below and also subscribe to the channel. Bob Morrison is an American songwriter and musician based in Nashville. He has worked in both the country and pop arenas during his career. He has a degree in nuclear engineering and even acted in Hollywood for a while. Before becoming a full-time songwriter, Bob released a series of solo singles in the mid-60s and was briefly a member in the band The Contrasts. During the 70s, Bob released a couple of albums under his name, as well as a few singles. Mr. Morrison has been quite a prolific songwriter over his career, with over 200 of his songs being recorded by major artists. One of his most well-known songs is Lookin for Love by Johnny Lee, which was the theme song for the film Urban Cowboy. Another is the Grammy-winning You Decorated My Life by Kenny Rogers. In 1980, Bob received the award of Songwriter of the Year by the Nashville Songwriters Association International. And my guest was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2016. Well, welcome, Bob.
Oh, good to see you, Greg. Finally.
yes, we've been working at this for a while.
That's right. By the way,
it usually pays off eventually. Well, take us back to the beginning. Where were you born?
Biloxi, Mississippi.
Okay, all right. There's a lot of musical heritage there.
Oh yeah. Well, the thing was, we had New Orleans on one side. I had Nashville. I listened to WLAC, which I was a kid, and my dad was a jukebox operator. I had the
yes,
you were right. Yeah, luckiest guy.
I was gonna say you were living in heaven there, especially your dad bringing home those 45s.
Yeah. I heard every great record, and I was always invited to the best parties. I was a nerd, but I had the best record, so they invited me.
That's right. That's what counts. That's right. That's good. Well, were either one of your parents musically inclined at all?
No, my dad loved music and they danced, and my mom and dad danced, and but nobody in my family that I knew of. My uncle sang a little bit. He was in the military.
Okay.
But in general, I don't think anybody played an instrument. I started playing an instrument because when I was 15 and a half, Elvis was coming into town.
Yeah.
True story. Down in Biloxi, he was dating a young lady, and she was a very attractive, Cajun-ish kind of looking young lady. And I'd heard about all the screams. I never made a sighting, but I said, "Mama, I want some of that."
There you go. That's a good impression. That's a good impression.
I bought a tone. I think it was $15, and the strings were so high above it. Cut into your hands. You had to get your hands ready. And I quit after about 3 months. I was very frustrated. But my dad hired me to go to the record shop and answer the phone because my aunt was sick. And I said, I had a lot of time on my hands. So I went back and I said, damn it, I'm not going to let this beat me. So I went ahead and started playing and got better and didn't even think about writing songs for a living. I thought music was a hobby.
Okay, right.
Seriously, I never thought you could make money out of doing anything, maybe band on the weekends or something like that. But anyway, got better, started singing a little bit, and continued to hear those records. And whenever I hear a record, Greg, that really affects me, something happens in my gut, between my gut and my heart. I get this little shiver or quiver.
Yeah.
And if I can do that to myself with a song, and I didn't do it that often.
Right.
Every now and then you say, hey, this has something that I think other people will like.
Right.
Those other people have to be the ones that are going to like it, though.
You know what I equate that to is what I call goosebumps. When you hear a song and it, you start feeling those.
Yeah, and I feel them now talking to you. I don't know why, Greg.
Okay, all right.
Maybe another story then. Anyway, songs that are complicated are turned down
Yeah.
time and time and time again when you know this is better than the stuff that's there.
Yeah.
But slower is sometimes better because they think it's over the crowd's head or what. I don't know. I can't. I only know what affects me. I don't know what affects anybody else.
Yeah, you got to do what you like. I mean,
Yeah.
I found that to be true doing these interviews, and just for my collecting music, the artists have to do what they enjoy, and eventually I think it's going to find an audience, sometimes later than sooner. Yeah.
Yeah, rather than sooner sometimes.
Right,
So,
right. The good music.
the
Yeah.
song Love was turned
Right.
down 21 times, which was great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Because if it hadn't been,
Yeah.
it wouldn't have been an Urban Cowboy.
Right. Right.
Like devirginated. It would no longer be a virgin.
Yes. Right. I like that.
Metaphor.
Well, we'll talk about before you even started playing anywhere, some of the bands.
Here's a failure. You want to hear about that?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Oh, it's 1965. Went to New York, got signed by Columbia, and it was a really weird story. I don't know how much time you got. I went to Howard University for one semester to get the rest of my degree. I didn't have enough because I'd skipped some years because I was on a track team and it was too much. I was juggling too many balls, and all of a sudden I was dropping a few. And so I went to Howard and got my 9 hours. And John Hammond, I'd met George Avakian, who was a producer there, and he'd talked to John Hammond, and John Hammond was the head of the NAACP. He was a white man, and he was fascinated by the Mississippian. Went to school in Howard University, which was mostly all black. Never had any problems. Had to go before a black lady federal judge, literally, before she let me in because I had Mississippi plates. And that was 1965. So go do the math with regards to where we were socially then. It was a tough time. Anyway, John signed me, I don't think because I was that good, but because I was a white man from Mississippi.
Right.
Anyway, first got to cut what was it? The Shadow of Your Smile, which was a movie song for
Sandpiper.
Yes, right. I was a person, but I was too green. I didn't know that you could play with a melody and have more, in other words, a song that's strict. Anyway, Tony Bennett, who was also on Columbia, decided to record it. So mine was released backwards instead of forward.
Uh-huh.
Good thing. Then I went to Puppet Man, which was like a Dylan retake. And as a matter of fact, when I was at Columbia, this is funny. Bob Dylan, John Hammond had discovered a lot of people. Bob Dylan was called Hammond's Folly.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah,
right.
And
right.
and but John got the last laugh, I think.
Yeah. Have you seen the new biopic though? The new Dylan biopic.
What?
Have you seen the new Bob Dylan biopic?
I understand it's really good. I haven't seen it yet. I mostly stream. I don't go out much anymore because Nashville is such a crowded mess now.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I haven't seen it yet either. And sometimes when I hear too many rave reviews about something, it doesn't live up to what I expect once I do see it, So,
Careful of your work.
You kind of have to, tender that with some, exactly. Right.
For 8 years there, I struggled. I had all kinds of, I had 4 recording contracts. And fortunately, every single one of them did not work out for one reason or another. And when I say that, I was not cut out to be that guy.
Okay.
On stage doing, because to me, the road was mind-numbing, boring. Yeah. The few times that I did it, you had to be a politician.
Right.
I'm not a politician. I can't say, oh, how's your kids?
Right.
I don't care how your kids are.
Yeah. BS people. Yeah, I'm not that way either.
Have to play a role. And I was so happy when I didn't make it that I could go back to being the introvert that I was.
Okay.
And that meant writing songs. That meant sometimes by myself.
Yeah.
And sometimes my luck changed when Bill Justice, bless his heart, Bill Justice was the writer and recorder and artist on Raunchy, which was a rock and roll hit musical. Bill Justice was so different musically. He was a great arranger. He could literally, if there was a mistake, he was writing like long, all these different parts. He could go back and go, he was a trained musician, and he was out in California to try to become a scorer, but they laugh at Southerners out there. They say, what's this guy know about music? Bill was, he said, Bob, and we tried a couple of sides contrasts at Monument. They didn't work out. He said, when do you want to, he said, I'm going to go back to Nashville. And I said, and I'd never gone to Nashville. I'd bypassed it, New York to LA. And I said, when do we leave, Bill?
Yeah.
And I went back to Nashville, and he said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to introduce you to Bob Beckham, Combine Music. And I said, okay, I'll be ready to sing some songs. And I was nervous and everything like that, because kind of it was the last hurrah. It was the last exit to Brooklyn, so to speak. I mean, if I didn't make it as a songwriter, I didn't know what the hell I was going to do. I mean, this is true, because you can't go back to nuclear engineering. I was 8 years behind the curve. So anyway, I go into Bob Beckham's office, and he has this kind of incredible power. It looked like a preacher that was about ready to fire and brimstone me. Guy. And he said, I'll tell you what, Bob. He said, you don't need to sing me any songs. I'll give you a year, because I love Bill Justice, and he's a good man. And I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So I came back. I met the staff. I met one guy who was a brilliant song. When he looked at a song, he knew what was wrong. And I listened to him. And he turned down at least 100 ideas of mine. They weren't full ideas. They were somewhat ideas saying, like it would be, I love you, baby, or whatever.
Yeah, that's right, with baby in it. Love and
songs. And about 2 months in, I was saying, I think I made a mistake. But he was sweet. He was not mean. I felt he was outside. One day I came in with a song called The River's Too Wide. I had a half a song. And I said, Johnny, I got this half a song. I was hemming and hawing. He says, play the friggin' song. So I watched it. And he just looked at me and said, it's a hit. Go finish it.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it hit him too.
Oh, yes.
Within 2 weeks, I finished it within 12 seconds. It was on the street with Jim Mundy, and John Farrar called from Australia to Beckham and said, listen, Beckham, if this doesn't make it past the 20s, it's going to be Olivia Newton-John's next.
I was going to say, yeah, right. Olivia Newton-John. And then they also, with Marvin Welch and Farrar, Hank Marvin from the Shadows, they put out a nice album during the 70s. Marvin Welch and John Farrar. Yeah. He was
a great producer, and he had his low voice and everything. I said, oh my God. And that was the beginning of my whole career. Because once you get an Olivia Newton-John cut, the Unknown went to number 9, which is unusual for Unknowns. He was totally unknown. That was his first record. But the song was strong enough. So, and that got me started. And believe me, after that, it was like I knew what the guys wanted.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to go back. We have time here. This is not we don't have to rush through this unless you have something coming up.
No.
Okay. When you mentioned Bill Justice, he was the producer on some of the singles for the Contrast. I know he produced.
Oh yeah, it was me. I was the lead singer.
Yeah,
and it was a made-up group, and the records were good, but
Yeah, I noticed there weren't any other members credited. It was just you. So yeah,
it was just me and Buzz Cason and Buzz Cason.
Okay.
Who else? Oh my God, he was a great arranger. He was a protege. But anyway, I kind of forget things sometimes. Names mostly.
Yeah.
I had breakfast, but then maybe.
Right. I know. I'm like that. I'm getting more and more. Yeah, the wide variety of styles that you guys played, like soul, R&B, rock, folk rock, pop. And there were a couple of singles and an EP. I found it interesting. The EP was released in Israel. I don't know. Do you remember that? It was the EP. There were 2 singles that were domestic, American. And then there was an EP, and it showed, when I look it up on I could tell it was international. I could tell it was not released here, because it had the one, how R45s here has the big hole. And
I remember these, they were Finer Grooves or something like that,
Yeah,
weren't they?
and the UK singles just had it was like a single, it was like an album,
Yeah,
but it just has the one little, you know, little
yeah,
hole, like that. So it was
yeah,
like that. I looked and it said Israel. I found, and I thought that was interesting. But What a Day, Lonely Child,
yeah,
the Girl Became a Woman, and Mississippi Woman. Yeah,
yeah.
were
Right.
those tracks. Yeah, those tracks.
Wow, I didn't even know that existed. You're telling
Yeah,
me I didn't
yeah.
know.
If you go look at Discogs, there's a website called Discogs, and
Okay.
then look under your name, and it will show those singles. And the second one was the EP. It says EP, and then you click on it, and it says Israel, released in Israel. And I thought, okay, well, that could be apropos today, I guess. I mean, what's going on over there? I
So
I don't know.
is that my musical education, if you can call it that, was listening to every record. I listened
Yeah.
to everything from Frank Sinatra to Elmo James and
Oh,
all
yeah.
in between.
Right.
So I heard honky tonk music, hotel music, and I used to change records on my dad's. And the interesting thing about changing records is that there's this group of little dials for
Right.
50 records, and each one moved one time, and 50 plays was the max. If you had a record that was only getting 3 plays, you took that one off, you put the new one on. And my dad would buy new records every
Yeah.
2 weeks religiously. He
Yeah.
would buy 5 for each set of locations. He had 100 locations, which sounded like he was a rich man, equipment rich.
Right. Right.
New boxes cost $1,000. So you can, a lot of money. So anyway, we had a nice life, 2 cars, 1 house, small house, actually 1,200 square feet. But my family, I was an only child, so I was spoiled like rotten.
Yeah, we spoil our son. We have one son. He's the only child, and he's very spoiled. Yeah, he gets a lot of attention and everything. Yeah, from us. Doesn't lack the attention. Going back to your early singles, backing up a little bit too. You mentioned "Hey Puppet Man."
Yeah.
I like that. It has that nice fuzz guitar on it. I like
Yeah,
that.
it's like somebody said the electric prunes.
Yeah, in a way, it does. It does sound a little bit like
I was
that.
just trying anything. Bill Justice used to say, I don't know if this is appropriate. He says, I'll piss on the board for a hit. That's what some of the funniest people in the world were people I was involved in
Right.
Nashville.
See if it works. Yeah. Yeah. And
Such a sweet man.
there was a
Such
nice, yeah, there's a nice mellow feel to I Looked in the Mirror. Do you remember that one with that jangly kind of guitar, that kind of birdsy kind of guitar on that one? I like that one as well.
That was done in New York City.
Okay.
When I was with Columbia.
Yeah. And you had a nice your voice, really comes through really strong on these too. Really. Did you have any voice lessons growing up at all or anything?
I think I had pretty good ears, but you never know you have good musical ears until you actually get into music. So
Yeah.
I had a lot of gifts, not only my parents who were cool, but I had a lot of gifts being, where I was at the time. It was a rich musical history.
Yes.
So I had a lot of eclectic kind of, I could go elsewhere.
Right.
And I think that I wrote many, many songs by myself. I was slow lyrically, but I was very fast melodically. I've come out with a melody.
Right.
The hardest person to find is to write to a melody.
Right. Yeah.
Burt Bacharach, who I met, by the way, I was so excited. Anyway, Burt Bacharach used to write a melody and he would give it to Hal David, among other people. And Hal would listen to it in his car on a cassette. I knew Hal David too because he was ASCAP's. Both were extremely sweet, honest people. Anyway, so Burt Bacharach comes in with this melody. Da 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 da. How in the hell are you going to write lyrics to that?
The lyrics for that.
How could?
Yeah.
But the thing that turned it around for me, being slow, about a year and a half into some success, I started asking lyric writers, the ones that don't actually write melodies or are a little weak, to give me lyrics.
Yeah.
And that's when always, Greg, when you want to be in something, you have to have a lot of material You can't just have one or two songs because they may not fit. You have to have, I liken it to going to Vegas with a bunch of quarters if you're going to play the slot.
Yeah.
You better have a bunch of, so I started writing a lot more songs, like 40 a year, sometimes 50.
Yeah.
And they were all reasonable. They weren't all great, but they were all reasonable market kind of songs. I never could write like Chris Christopherson. I never could write like, oh, let me see, Townes Van Zandt, Mickey Newberry. Those guys were the creme de la creme as far as I was concerned. I was just a working commercial songwriter. That's how I looked at myself. That's what I learned. I was not embarrassed. I was respectful of those guys, but they wrote very few songs. They all were tailored in a certain way. But you have to be your own artist if you're going to do that.
That's right. Mentioning how David and Burt Bacharach was similar to the way Elton and Bernie Taupin worked too.
Yes, that's right. As a matter of fact, I don't know if this is a apocryphal story or not, but supposedly, now I don't know, you may be able to corroborate this or knock it down. They went into the studio with the lyrics and he got on the piano and just started recording.
Yeah.
And that was it. In other words, he would find it under the pressure of actually turning the red light on.
Okay. Oh, right. I see. Yeah.
What's interesting is that I remember, who was it? Anyway, a great songwriter once, Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Okay.
Hammerstein would bleed over lyrics for weeks. He'd call Richard Rodgers in when he was finally finished. And Richard Rodgers would sit down at the piano and in 10 minutes had the melody. And what he said afterwards, he told, Hammerstein was pissed.
Was he?
He said, wait a minute.
I've been working long and hard on this, and it took you 10 minutes.
Oscar, if I don't get it within 15 minutes, I ain't going to get it.
Okay.
It has to do with the meter and what you're feeling that day and how your actual, because you don't think about it. You get on the piano and you play a chord, and then something either comes out or nothing comes out.
It doesn't. Yeah.
If I don't get it in a really quick time, I ain't gonna get it,
Right. Well, going back to finishing up with your early singles, speaking of your vocals, Let Her Go, Little Heart, I think that really showcased your vocals on that one.
Yeah, that was a famous writer, Bobby something or other. And I was taking in songs, but I wasn't getting the cream of the crop. I felt that was a good song.
Yeah.
But that's when I decided myself, hey, you're going to have to write them because nobody's going to, when they got all these big artists around, they're not going to give you anything because you're unknown.
Yeah. I
mean, it was just me riffing in my own head. Right. I often do that.
And you mentioned something else I was going to comment on. You mentioned earlier about when you were out in LA back at that time period, how they kind of looked down on Southern writers, musicians, right? But it's kind of come around. Now everybody and their dog has moved to Nashville, more recently. Even UK musicians.
What happened is Urban Cowboy.
Yeah.
To a lot of that because that album sold tons. And there were a lot of people coming down then,
Yeah.
And some of them moved, unfortunately. But,
right.
There's some good people too. I mean, you can never say, oh, those are all bad people or those are all good people. You're on both cases. There's just all kinds of people.
But it is interesting how a lot of LA musicians then moved to Nashville, a little later on, and
have any success in Los Angeles? I had a lot of, I was being sent up for films and I didn't like that business either. It's too long.
I did have one thing I was going to ask you in just a minute, but I Fall to You. I really like this one. The instrumentation and the strings on it. You know what it reminds me of? Bob Lynn's Elusive Butterfly.
That's who wrote it.
Oh,
that wasn't mine.
Okay, that's why it sounds. That's why it sounds so much. Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, several years ago, I did a written interview with Bob. He was one of my first interviews,
Seemed like a
actually.
good guy.
Yes, yes, really,
Yeah.
really, really nice guy. And
Uh,
then what? And then a couple more. Then suddenly, another top song with the horns. I like the horns on that one.
yeah.
And then I'm the place. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, that
that
was
was
mine.
okay. Okay, all right, all right.
Yeah, that was back in the day when I was trying to mock what was going on,
Yeah,
but but do it in a different way. And sometimes you just, sometimes the record promotion men are human beings, and sometimes they want to push somebody, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes they don't like the song, and you can't. I mean, they might be wrong, but hell, he's the guy doing it, so
yeah, yeah.
so he can't sell it with the ferocity that you need to sell something.
That's right. Because he didn't create it. Yeah, he didn't
Yeah,
exactly.
there's all kinds of reasons why records succeed and fail.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of that in the music industry that's not so good, not so good.
so
Well,
much.
right, right. Well, in '67, you moved to LA.
Yeah,
How soon were you signed to Screen Gems?
that was one of those weird things. I was with a big agent, Harry Kalsheim in New York, and it was a big one. And so they started sending me up things, for things, and that was just one of the interviews I had. And they were putting together several. What the Screen Gems does is they hire actors and they try to find things to keep the costs down. If the actor gets in it and the agents get involved, it was $250 a week, which is a lot of money in those days for 3 weeks. And I had a 6 month contract. The reason why they signed me was that they had something called Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Okay.
They were going to try to do that was a movie.
Yeah.
In my class was David Soul, who ended up in Starsky and Hutch.
Right, right.
Susan St. James, who ended up in Macmillan.
Macmillan and wife. Macmillan. And wife.
There was another Susan something else that ended up in Dallas.
Okay.
But my pilot did not sell.
Okay.
So, and to me, it's just another doorway you try to get in somewhere. To
Right,
try,
right.
my music has been much more,
Right.
profitable
Yeah.
if I had something else going.
Yeah. Well, the reason it did strike a chord with me. Do you know who Diane Hildebrand is?
The name's for me. I don't.
Okay. She worked for Screen Gems, and it may have been around the same period out there, and particularly for the Monkees. Wrote a couple of songs for them, and co-wrote, and then a couple of TV themes. The Flying Nun.
Oh, I remember. Sure.
Yeah, she co-wrote the theme.
It was Eddie. What was it? Eddie, the famous Eddie Foy. That was I knew.
Okay. Uh-huh.
He
Yeah,
was one
yeah.
of the little boys
So-
who'd grown up.
So that's one. And I did an interview with her. It's been back in October, I guess it was October, November. But you might check that out just for laughs for that time period. Yeah, because she did work for Screen Gems. And so when you were out there, you did do a little bit of acting. Anything that we might know of, or
Iron Horse, I did a quick thing where I was supposed to have been killed by a train hitting a pile of actual railroad ties, and it crushed me. And Dale Robertson, we were rehearsing,
Yeah.
and Dale Robertson, I was lying there dead, and Dale Robertson opened up my eyes and said, "Yep, he's got the clap."
the clap.
That's what he said.
Oh, that's good. The clap did it.
It didn't last too long. But,
Okay. Well, back to songwriting. What songs did Bobby Goldsboro record of yours?
"You're Here" was one of them, and that was it was just a poetic little thing that I'd written. And I think Justice was doing arrangements back then, and Don Tweedy was producing, and I showed it to Don Tweedy, and they did it. And that was always when you get somebody that is famous, whether it sells or not, it's always makes you feel good because, you know, they can have any song they want, basically. And so it was a good record too. So I was happy with that.
Yeah, and they pick one of yours. That's got to make you proud. Yeah, it's got to be.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been so, when I talk to young writers, I said, listen, you can be really, really good, but you got to be real. Now, this is going to sound like a cliche, and I want people to understand this. You have to be lucky to be with the right people. If you do not have the right people, then it's going to be really difficult to overcome that.
Yeah.
I had the right people. Bob Beckham was one of the best publishers in town. He was highly respected. He had a great staff. I was taught basically by a mentor who ended up writing with me. Long story. I won't tell it unless we need it. He was the guy that turned down all my music at first, but he knew what he was doing. He was a songwriter, but he was a song plugger, and he wasn't allowed to write songs there because Beckham, in his infinite wisdom, I love the guy. He was wonderful. He thought it would be a conflict of interest. Anyway, when I got a little clout, I went to him and I said, you know what? This guy's helping me too much. He's helping me. He would suggest lines. He's either got to be included or I don't know what, Bob. Please allow him to write. He said, well, son, I don't know about that, because I said, wait, he's the only guy I know who can wear two hats and know which one he has on.
Oh, good. Yes.
And Beckham said, okay, I'll try it. Well, Johnny ended up writing I'd Love to Lay You Down for Conway Twitty by himself, which was another story. But, and also, what was the name of it? I'd Rather Be on a Fast Train to Georgia. You know, anyway, it was Steve Clark. It was a brilliant song. It was I'm sorry, I can't remember it. Anyway, but Johnny proved that he was the great writer he was, and I wrote tons of recorded songs with him. So, and also Debbie Hupp too. All my co-writers were wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about that, but first, your 1971 Friends of Mine album.
Yes.
You had several members or all the members of the Wrecking Crew playing on that album.
Yeah. Yeah. You're the One was one of the ones. And the way I wrote that song was really strange. You want to hear that story?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I don't know how much time you need, but anyway, I said I needed one more song on the album. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try something really weird and stupid. I'm going to write the crappiest chorus that ever lived. Going to be a cliched chorus. There was one on the charts by "You're the One" or something. You're the one. I said, I'm going to make a sing-along melody, and I'm going to write the lyric in the verse a little bit odd, so that it's like, what the hell is this song about? Finish the time I looked in the water, had no reflection to show. What?
Right.
And the song, Glenn Campbell cut it in 1971 and killed it.
Yeah.
It was on his album, Jesus Christ Superstar. Sammy Jackson, I think, was the DJ out in Hollywood. He kept badgering Glenn to put it out. He did not. And so the song kind of got 10 different recordings, but nothing ever happened to it because the records, Glenn's would have been a hit. It was a great record. I can still play it on the air. And I said, damn, that was good. Anyway, I had the song and, I put it on the album and it was done a little different. It's done more folky.
Yeah.
I brought the song to Nashville and Johnny McRae, the guy who was my mentor, said, you know what? That song would be great for the Oak Ridge Boys.
Oak Ridge, yeah.
But they didn't own the publishing. That was at Glenwood, which is a capital.
Right.
Johnny took it anyway. That's what it was back then.
Yeah.
People like, for example, Beckham used to, I think, pitched Way Down for Lang Martine. It wasn't his song. When you take somebody a good song, whether it's yours or not, and it really works for them, they remember it. It's almost like bringing donuts to a cop or something. Metaphor, but
especially the cream-filled ones. Oh,
yeah. Me, I got a dozen donuts. My brain actually, you can tell it works in oblique angles. So,
That's all right. I enjoy it. I enjoy it. And I like going off on tangents every once in a while. That's welcome,
yeah,
because it's just kind of where your mind's going. That's fine. And I'm kind of jumping around here too,
I'm jumping off too. So
right,
you're
right.
jumping around in the darkness, actually.
Right. Well,
I'm like I'm
back
a
to that.
immigrant. I'm going to get picked up by
Right, right.
like one. Let's get him.
Yeah. Well, going back to that album, it's fairly introspective singer-songwriter type,
Yeah,
mellow, which is right up my alley,
yeah.
and Baroque pop, which is really what I like. And I think my favorite on the whole album is Sweet Sounds of September.
Yeah. I got Clark Gassman to do the strings. He was excellent. Yeah. Yeah. It was a nice record. I work with some of Hollywood's best.
Yes, yes.
Some of their best musicians.
Oh
I think
yeah.
Alice Presswoods and all. And we went and had the pipe organ put on in a church. And there's a delay. You had to be real careful with it. And we had, oh gosh, what was his great name? He was a great player. Anyway, all those players were just wonderful. Joe Osborne, who did who did the Carpenters, and actually played bass in Carpenters records, and all of them are good people, man. You can find musicians are cool anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that Wrecking Crew, and then Carol Kay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, Carol Kay. Allison Presswood was here. I get them confused sometimes.
Oh, that's all
Lady
right.
bass players, yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very tight units. Well, yeah. Well, were you happy with the way the album turned out? Oh,
Oh yes, definitely.
yeah.
Yeah, I was disappointed. The problem was, and this happens quite often, is that Capitol changed hands right
Oh,
after, and that means
yes, yes.
it always does, because why are you going to promote something that you're fired
Right, right.
in
Exactly.
disguise?
Yes.
They're not going to do it. So I was really disappointed. If You'd Like to Be a Lady was getting some airplay too
Yeah. Yeah.
out there. And so it was like killed.
Yeah. That's unfortunate. I've heard stories doing these interviews about that, or how an artist will be on a minor label and then they go under. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and it halts all kind of progress and any momentum that you might have had. Yeah. When that
Yeah.
happens, those kind of thing. Well, you did mention the Carpenters. What song or songs did you write for the Carpenters?
Oh, uh, Make Believe It's Your First Time.
Okay. Okay.
And it was big, it was done after her passing. I
Okay.
think they had a vocal on it, and so it was done. It was actually released after she had passed away, and I was heartbroken because people used to make fun of her. She was fabulous.
Oh, wasn't she? Wasn't. And
Well,
you know what's
great
funny?
drummer. She
Right,
was.
a great drummer. She was a drummer first. She wasn't even the vocalist. She wasn't even the singer when they started
I
out.
know.
Richard was.
I know.
And what a spark of genius. Let her sing.
But as a drummer,
Yeah.
all the paradiddles and all the phrasing, and her phrasing was
Right.
impeccable.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I just loved the records they did.
Oh
And
yeah.
Richard was, of course, very vanilla and nerdy, but he was good, you
Oh,
know.
oh yes. And
Beautiful.
I love all of their music, and that voice, like you said, there'll be never be another one
No, no,
like
no.
like Karen. No, no, no.
Well,
Wow.
we were pretty good. I don't know how old you are, Greg. I'm 82,
Yeah,
and I was during the greatest music in America.
yeah,
That's just plainly it.
yeah.
And the music now is so disappointing.
Right.
I don't. I'm sorry. I just don't hear
Hey,
melodies.
I'm the same way. I'm a few years younger than you, but that '70s music, '60s and '70s for me are
And
just,
70s,
yes, yeah, just
it fell off a little bit for
yeah,
me, but
yeah, yeah. But it's just, and that's why I like in doing these interviews with people from your that time. That
mainly.
exactly, exactly. So right. I wished I had started doing this decades earlier because there's so many that have passed, that I would have loved to have talked to. But
Hey,
I
it's
do
what
what I
it
can.
is, you know?
Right. I do what I can now. I grab you guys when I can, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly about that time, that time for music. It's just, and again, it's going to find an audience, even if it wasn't, you flew under the radar back then, you weren't recognized, you didn't get the hits. A lot of the younger people today are going back and listening to with the internet. It's just, maybe you find that to be true too, but they're discovering a lot of that music.
Yeah, the music of today is not feeding them like it fed us.
That's right. That's what it is. That's what it is.
We were fed emotionally with that music, and it was not only great artists like Jackie Wilson. Oh God, what a singer!
Oh yes. Oh
Me,
yes.
there were so many good people, and they didn't have any pitch fixers back then. Now you can
Right.
manipulate
That's
it.
the thing. That's the thing. Now anybody, even if you can't sing, you can do that. What is it called? The automatic auto tune, whatever that is. And just no, I don't buy that. I
Well,
don't.
it's a gimmick, but the
Yeah.
gimmick to keep somebody in tune.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I sometimes hear these live shows, and
Yeah.
it's jokey,
Yeah.
not good.
Right. Right.
Watch award shows anymore. I
Right.
watch it real quick, and whoever's
Yeah.
on it, it
And
doesn't.
it all
And,
just nothing strikes me. It all sounds the same. It just all kind of
well, it is all the same.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Right.
hats, halter tops, and there's nothing wrong with that in
Yeah.
small doses.
Right. 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 Well, moving ahead, you moved to Nashville in what, 73?
73.
And that's when you began your career as a full-time songwriter.
Yeah, that's when I learned what I was supposed to do in Nashville, and it bled over to anything I was doing. They write songs from A to Z. They don't just put lines in there for no reason. Every line has to go towards where you're going. It's like you work out the chorus first, and then you figure out what can lead you there.
Right.
And you have to be very persnickety about it.
At first, I like that word. Yeah.
Yeah, you got, because somebody will say, that's a shit line, something like that.
Yeah.
You can't get away with anything, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Well, in 78, you released your own version of You Decorated My Life.
I did. It was a little bit, I thought it was a little bit stiff. I didn't think it was a loose enough record. Sometimes the musicians are too reverent.
Okay. Okay.
And that shouldn't have been reverent. We didn't think we'd get the damn thing cut.
Okay.
It was way too limp-wristed and Peter Panish.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah.
Too
Yeah.
poetic, actually.
Yeah.
I wasn't, Debbie Hupp came in with a little bit of the verse melody in the first verse, and the second verse was a real problem to get done, because she'd already written something so good. We took us 2 months to write that second verse, because second verses are always hard, especially if you write the first verse too well. Sometimes you have to take the first verse down and make it complete in order to have it completed in the second verse.
In the second. Okay.
Right.
Right.
Technical thing sometimes. It's not as romantic as it sounds. Buzz Cason, it pissed me off. Buzz Cason said, well, we wrote Everlasting Love in 10 minutes. I said, oh my God. Great. What a hook. It was a giant. It could have caught a whale on that hook,
Yes. Oh, that's good. Yes. Yes.
Those happen sometimes.
Yeah.
They don't happen often, but they happen sometimes.
Yeah. Stroke of genius there, and that does happen. Right.
So all of a sudden the muse sits on your shoulder and does something good. And
then
there
you go. There you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, the following year, I think it was 79, was when Kenny Rogers released it, and huge hit, big hit for him. How did you like? Did you like his rendition?
Yes, I did. He changed the melody slightly, which kind of bothered me a little bit. But every now and then, when the world stops, is where it's supposed to go. He didn't do that note.
He didn't do that. Okay.
I said, I'll forgive him. It was a bit. What else could I do but forgive him?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Actually, it was. And Larry Butler was one of my favorite producers, and he cut a lot of songs for me, and Beckham mainly. he was a great piano player, and he was a great record producer and a nice man too.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's it like for you, to hear one of your songs, that you've written, like on the radio, with a singer like Kenny Rogers, for the first time hearing.
It always made, oh my gosh, it's just like chills. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it is. It's like you just heard a hit from somebody else in a way, because getting a record on the radio is not that easy. There's 100 different reasons why it doesn't. Sometimes they're bad reasons, sometimes they're best reasons. It just has to do with flipping a coin sometimes.
yeah.
That's why it's such a dangerous business to try to retire from.
Right, right.
You will be retired. I'll tell you a quick story about Harlan Howard.
Sure.
Harlan Howard came into Combine. I just was there about 6 months, I guess. And I was sitting in the coffee room, which is in the back of the building, having a cup. And Harlan came in and sat down and had a cup. And I knew who he was. He had written 4,000 songs and he was a legend.
Yeah.
And he said, I can't understand it. He says, nobody wants to listen to my songs. A chill ran down my back.
Yeah.
The reason being is I said, you know what? I understand why that may happen. It has nothing to do with the quality of your work or how good you are. People come into town that don't know and don't care about you, and they start their own thing. And I figured it out as time went on. You have 15 years as a songwriter.
Okay.
That's it. And it has nothing to do. I'm writing songs today that would have been hits back then. I still love to write. But you got 15 years, maybe a couple of years now. Bill Anderson wrote with younger guys, and so did Harlan write with young. A couple of my buddies wrote with younger guys and didn't get any songs on the albums or anything. I said, I'm not going to do that, because I was investing and I was trying to make the most of the money I made in that brief period of time. And it worked out great for me, but for a lot of people, it did not. Right. They had to go to work, they had to teach, they had to do all this stuff. And it's a sad kind of end story for a lot of people, but it was great for me. And again, luck, bull market, luck. We're talking about luck. That's why I said I'm the luckiest guy in the universe. Right. And I mean it. Yeah. I'm not humble.
Right.
I was but I'm
right. Well, you said the other word earlier, timing and luck. I think has so much to do.
Yeah. And it sounds like cliches, but it's it has to do with it. It has everything to do with it, because you can be good.
Yeah.
But good is not good enough.
Right. Exactly. And I talked to one musician. It's been a while, but he relocated to Nashville. And he said a mentor of his told him, look at it, there's a 5-year period. Okay. Yeah. He said, you're not going to come out here immediately and make it big. He said, give it 5 years, to get your footing, to get, start networking, getting to know everybody and all that. He said,
doing demos, stuff like that. All that stuff adds to the, and it just snowballs if it's going to snowball,
Yeah. Well, when did you find out Lookin for Love would be featured in Urban Cowboy?
It was kind of weird. I'll tell you the whole story, and you can.
Do.
I had met a guy by the name of Newell Gregg in California when I was there. I met a lot of people. I met the guy Bill Straw that put together. Oh gosh, what was? Anyway, I don't want to get off track. Newell Gregg had been a track athlete at Oregon. And one day when a coach said, pick it up, he ran right out the gate and said, the hell with this. He became an agent. He did tax stuff on the side, but he became an agent. And we hit it off. So I moved to Nashville, and he called me one night and said, Bob, he said, they're putting together a country western musical. What do you have? I said, yeah, sure. I'll put a couple of 3 songs on a cassette and send it to you. I sent it to him, and he called me a couple of days later, and he said, I dropped it in a bushel basket at Paramount. I said, well, how full was the bushel basket? He said, pretty full. Because everybody in Nashville was pitching. Beckham was not. Bob Beckham had a bad experience in Hollywood. And he said, I'm not going to pitch those guys. Anyway, so I said, okay, Newell, that's fine. And a couple of weeks later, after I had gotten a recording from a friend of mine in Arizona on a gal, he was trying to promote, and he played the record for me. I said, yeah, that's a nice record, but it wasn't going to go anywhere. Anyway, a couple of weeks later, Becky Shargo, who was the music coordinator for the whole thing, called and said, Bob, we really like this song, Lookin for Love. We're thinking of making the centerpiece of the movie. What do I need to know? Which was code for me was, where is the song? Is it going to come out by somebody else? Has it been recorded? That's where the 21 turndowns mattered so much. So anyway, I said, let me make a phone call, Becky. I called Ray Ruff out in Arizona, and I said, Ray, here's the deal. And Ray said, hey, I offered to pay for the session and everything. He said, hey, don't worry about it. Sounds like a wonderful opportunity. I had befriended Ray when a lot of people just thought he was just fly by night or whatever. Anyway, and it wasn't for any reason except that he liked my songs and I liked him. So anyway, I called back Becky Shargo and I said, nothing, it's a green light. So that's how the song got in it, by me pitching it to. So that was one of the quirky, that talk about luck. She listens through all the cassettes and happens to hear that song.
Yes, right.
Same thing with most of them. So anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You're sticking to it. Well, so many of them, if they have a bunch, they don't listen, or they maybe listen to a percentage of them. They don't go through and listen to, all of them.
Yeah.
And happily, she did listen to listeners.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She was good because that was a good album.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes, exactly. And that one, it took on a life of its own, being in the movie too,
Yeah. Oh God, it increases it by 10 to 20 times what the value would have been, because it was a hit movie. As a matter of fact, it was a social phenomenon at the time.
Right. That's right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it really was goosed by that. And, hey, you can't have nothing better than getting a movie with those people.
Yeah, exactly. The honky tonks becoming more urbanized in the big cities and all that, and the bull ridings and things like that. Yeah,
of course, we're getting there.
Right. Just took off.
He's smashed, right?
Yeah, exactly. I rode one the first time I ever tried one. It was when I was in college, and I stayed on it for the whatever period of time it was, that you have to stay on. And I stayed on. I have a good sense of balance, so I did. I did. Yeah. So I surprised my friends and myself. I stayed on it. So interesting. But anyway, that is just really, and I'm sure today, that people are still watching the movie and still listening
to the song. From You're the One, you still get. I mean, it's not a ton, obviously, as went down, but hey, that was 45 years ago, my man.
Yes, exactly. You're right. You're right. Well, which artist covered your songs the way that you imagined them being covered?
Shine On, George Jones. It was one of them.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't have anything right now. Obviously, Kenny.
Yeah.
You're the One with Glenn Campbell, and I was glad for the Oak Ridge Boys because that was a hit record for them, and it was good. Yeah. I had no problem with them doing it, but Glenn's record was better.
Yeah. Okay. I won't go and edit that, but we'll keep it. We'll keep it low key. We'll keep it low key. We'll keep it low key. Yeah, that's fun. Well, who did the best of all the songs that you've written that were covered by artists? Who did the best rendition? Do you think of one of your songs, the very best?
I think Give Her Thorns and She'll Find the Roses by Gary Morris was pretty damn good.
Right.
Yeah, that was it was one of, I think, I wrote that with Dennis Lindy, who was kind of a hermit. He was a great guy. He very much introverted. He only wrote songs by himself, like Janie Baker's Love Slave. And great guy, though. I loved him. He was just terrific. Very funny human being with an oblique mind like us.
Yes, yes.
Anyway, we worked that song out, and it was cut several times. Roger Whittaker, Michael Johnson cut it, but then the definitive record was Gary Morris.
Gary Morris.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he acted to Broadway at one point and played in Les Mis or something. I can't remember.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know.
Yeah, Gary went and played the lead in that.
Yeah.
He had an operatic kind of approach. He wasn't country particularly to me.
Yeah.
I still see him every now and then in the gym. He lives in the West somewhere, but he comes to Nashville every now and then.
Right. Yeah, I like a lot of those, what they classified as countrypolitan from back in the 60s and I guess early 70s.
Yeah.
I like a lot of
Ray Price.
Yes, Ray Price, exactly.
And I didn't have a problem with any of that. That was a very nicely done records, but it was country like Sinatra might do it,
Right. Yeah, I can hear that. But then I also like the Buck Owens, the Bakersfield sound. I also like that too. Yeah, a little more honky tonk. Yeah,
real country music.
Yeah, Merle Haggard. A lot of that stuff too. Yeah. Well, in 1980, you received the award Songwriter of the Year by Nashville Songwriters Association. Was that for Lookin for Love? Or You Decorated My Life?
Actually, that was a one for
a different song. Okay.
Quality of the work that was done that year.
Oh, okay. Just
more than just one song.
One song. Okay.
Like the ASCAP Award, the guy who gets the most chart records wins the ASCAP Award. And it was pretty much cumulative kind of thing.
Okay. That was just a good year for you. Yes.
Yeah, the 79 and 80 were just tremendous years. And I was looking back at that 15-year thing. I probably hadn't made my decision up because I was only 7 years into it. But as I got to 1990, there were fewer calls.
Okay, right.
New people in town.
Right.
And a lot of the people that really liked what I did were retired, passed away, any number of things, moved, who knows what. But hey, you have your time and then you don't have your time. Right. I thought that writing melodies, actually, Greg, I was safe because melodies are timeless, but I discovered they're not timeless.
Yeah, you would think so. I would. I mean, they are for me. The real collector. I think you will find them timeless. But maybe not so much in the industry. The industry. There's a shelf life, right? A shelf life. You had a shelf life, right? As they say, Yeah, but have you found lately or more recently, more fans, more younger fans, maybe, finding out about your music?
I'm kind of a hermit in that I don't play out, and I'm thinking about, since I got on Reverb Nation, I finally caved and got on Reverb Nation just to see what happens. Yeah. And I did a session last year of 23 songs, and I had a ball. To me, it's better than a vacation, and a lot of it's unheard music. And so I put some on there, and I'm just going to slowly do it. I don't play out, but I'm thinking about going to play out. Either the Bluebird, which I did many, many times during my, or down at. No, there's a motel down near Vandy that has a lot of, and I'll just go and say, hey, let me do a half an hour just for the heck of it,
Yeah, the Bluebird that came up in another interview. I remember that name. There have been a lot of musicians that have played there. Yeah. I don't remember the individual exactly, but I remember that name, Bluebird.
About that. Bluebird was started by Amy Curlin because her restaurant was failing, and she got the idea of putting 4 songwriters facing each other right in the middle of the room, trading songs, and it caught on. because there's nothing like a songwriter singing their songs, even just with a guitar or piano. People really respond to it. I remember one night when it was a particularly good night for all of us, and some lady came up to me and said, "Thank you for inviting us into your living room."
Oh, right. That's what it felt like. Yeah.
That,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
that was one
Yes.
of the best compliments,
I was
you could
I was
have.
gonna say, because it's more of an intimate setting.
Oh, very
Yeah.
much so. And the
Yeah.
sound system is wonderful.
Yeah.
And, uh, it's 100 people maybe,
Right.
just stacked around very tight, and it's a great place to go listen to songs and music. I'm not sure what they sing these days.
Right.
I don't know if any, but this music has fans, so I guess the fans would go.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Do you still hear from some of the old fans? Do you emails or Facebook, that kind of
Well,
thing?
yeah, I'm on Facebook, and a lot of co-writers are on it, and Gary Morris is on it, and we stay in touch about lots of different stuff, the things that are happening in the world, which we won't go into. But it's nice to stay in touch, and I've lost so many friends. Mr. Beckham is gone, Bill Justice is gone, Johnny McRae, all the people that I knew, but some of my co-writers are still around, and it's the memories. If I could go back and be young right now, I'd say no thanks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had it. I had what was such a wonderful life, and I
Right.
did.
Right.
Laughter. When I came to Nashville at 31 years old, I had been to college. I had a degree, and I in the first 5 years in Nashville, I laughed more than I did my first 31 because the people were bright and funny and a little crazy.
Yes.
I learned from them,
Yeah.
and I learned how you can be humorous and never cuss or anything like that. Of course, cussing does help sometimes, but
Yes, it does. That's wonderful because I agree with you completely. Like I said, I mean that they were happier times. They just seemed like they were,
definitely.
And
Yeah.
I know growing up, my parents sheltered me and my brother from a lot of the bad things that were going on. But compared, and we won't go into it, like you said, compared to what's happening today, it's just there's no comparison.
To raise kids today. I
Yeah,
think Johnny McRae, before he passed away, he said, "You know what, Bob? The way the world is going, I think I'm going to check out at just about the right time."
right.
He was
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And I don't want to join him now because I'm still having too much fun, but still there's that niggling little thing about
Yes,
what's
yes.
happening.
What's
And
happening? Yeah.
it's not good really. So,
No.
but hopefully it'll work itself out, or some people that know stuff will work it out. And you know what I'm talking about? It's a worldwide situation, not just.
Right. Oh, it is. It is. It's international, and for me, that's why music is so important.
Oh God.
It. You know what I've always said growing up. I said, no matter if I was depressed or how bad things were around me, I always had music. Music was something that would always uplift me. It would always
Absolutely.
make me feel better. Always.
I read the other day, which resonated with me. He said, "You know why the kids are so pissed off? They don't have good music."
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
Whether
you
that's
know.
true or not, I have no idea. But
you
it's
know it, it it could be part of the issue,
they need better music. God damn
right,
it.
right. It could be one more thing we didn't mention about the being inducted in Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame
Yeah.
2016. That must have been a really proud moment.
Yes, it was. I actually probably shot myself in the foot because I got nominated 7 times really early, like in the 70s, and I mean, excuse me, the 80s, in that area, in that era, I should say. And friends kept saying, "When are you going to be in the thing?" I said, "I don't know." I said, and I went to the people that were running. I said, "Why don't you just take me out? I don't think I'm going to get in." And I must have made somebody angry. And so it took a long time, but I had a lot of people fighting for me, years. And I finally got in. And yes, it established you never lose that. They said, once you're in that,
right.
Can't take it away.
That's right. That's right.
And I thought I deserved it at one point, but then I sort of gave up on it. But anyway, I never gave up on people who were not giving up on me. So
There you go. It validates you.
yeah, exactly. That's the word I was searching for, but never could find.
Right, right. It did. And then just to know that, all, your peers, appreciate you, and have for so many years. Well, that's great. That's great. Again, it's something nobody can take from you. Well, Bob, anything else you like? Yeah, I think we do. But I was just thinking if anything that we omitted or that you'd like to mention in closing.
Not really. I think we've pretty much covered it as far as I'm concerned. Of course,
Okay.
I didn't come actually with a script, or anything like that.
No,
Because
I'm glad you didn't. I'm glad you didn't. I don't like things that are too scripted.
No. You can't do that. So I learned that a long time ago. And I just had a couple of notes here, like Harlan was one of them. And, nobody can see that because I've got my jack sheet right there. So
there you go. Yeah, you got it hidden there.
I'll just sign off and, let me know via email when this is going to air and where.
Okay. It's usually about a week or a little over. And then what I'll do is send you a copy of it. So
that would be fabulous.
Exactly. And then you can put it on your Facebook or wherever you'd like to post it.
Cool.
You could even email it out to individuals.
Because I'm aware of being able to put MP3s on Facebook and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. So that's all, you can do that and let everybody know about it. And I will send you a copy once a little bit of editing, shouldn't be too much. And then I'll also have it on my YouTube channel. So it'll be there. You can direct people there, and you can also post it,
Why don't you send me your address along with stuff? I'll send you some music.
Oh, okay. That would be great. You don't happen to have a copy of the 71 album? Friends of mine.
No, I have the vinyl, but I never got it.
Okay.
Listen, if I can find a place that'll do vinyl, I'll have it copied because I want it. I don't have any.
Right. And so far, nobody's released it on CD, right? Nobody's done that.
No, not that I know.
Okay. I mean, that's something to look into. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a lot of stuff to look into.
All right.
I don't know how to get out of here, but you let me know.
Bob. All right. And let's keep in touch. And I will, like I said, send you that. And you have a good week upcoming. And keep rehabbing. Yeah. So you can get back out there and do the marathons. Yeah.
Well, no marathons. If I can walk about a block, that'll be good.
Right. Okay, Bob, it's been very enjoyable. And
I have been for me too. So take care of yourself and we'll be in touch, okay?